The first Nintendo console to ever been made was the Japan-only Famicom. The Famicom was one of Nintendo's many tactics to become big and successful after its failures as both a card and toy company. The manager over the creation of the Famicom was Masayuki Yumura. The console came out on July 5th, 1983. The whole design of the Famicom was to make it the cheapest it could be while still being good quality in order to make it affordable. The two controllers were attached to the console via non-removable wires. For this reason, the Famicom became an instant success due to popular games like Super Mario Bros. And Legend of Zelda being made only on the console. Due to the success of the Famicom, Nintendo decided to take a huge risk and try to market it to the Western world in a time where game consoles were frowned upon. They developed the NES, which they marketed coming with one of the most popular games on it, Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt, a game with a toy-like accessory that made it seem a lot less like a controller. No stores would be willing to take it, so Nintendo made a deal with a few stores in New York. Nintendo said that they would set up the display, and the stores would only be responsible for the units that they sold. This worked, and gradually the NES became more and more popular, eventually going global. The NES was released in 1985, 2 years after the Famicom. Two nearly identical consoles called the Super Famicom and SNES were released in Japan, and the rest of the world respectively in 1990. They used upgraded graphics and hardware, as they used a 16-bit processor instead of the 8-bit the previous consoles had, giving it double the power. Since the SNES was late to the 16-bit era of gaming and stayed a success with its ability to use two dimensions to create the illusion of a third, as the other 32-bit consoles rolled out, Nintendo skipped straight to developing a 64-bit software. Even though the N64 started development earlier than competitors, the release had to be delayed twice after competing consoles were released first. At launch date in 1996, the N64 was a huge success, being called the best gaming console of its time. Even today, the N64 is considered one of the best consoles and is one of the most well-known to have ever been created. The next console Nintendo made is the GameCube. This was released in 2001. The console ran on small discs as Nintendo moved away from game cartridges. This console is more widely known for its games than its hardware. The console itself is just an improved version of what the N64 did right. All it added was a lackluster main menu for the console when the game wasn't being used. The next console Nintendo made was the Wii, released in 2006. The Wii was unique as it was the first mainstream console to mention controls. It was greatly improved on the new menu system the GameCube introduced, adding the ability to download games directly onto the console. Along with the ability to download games, the Wii added many features called channels that could do anything from give out surveys to forecast the weather around the world. The next console Nintendo made was the Wii U, released in 2012. After such a large success with the Wii and the Wii U, it was a complete failure. It changed the controller from a remote to an oddly-looking touchscreen controller, and their advertising was terrible. Who would buy an upgrade presented by some geeky kids instead of the new or advanced consoles from the competitors? The removal of the GameCube compatibility, the Wii had drove away from some of the bigger fans, and the game lineup from launch was not very good. It was easy to see why it failed, when the only things it had going for it was increased hardware and the weird-looking controller. Nintendo's last console, the Nintendo Switch, did something that no one saw coming. The sudden announcement that Nintendo's next gaming console would also be a handheld device like their 3DS line, and a tabletop device like no other console. Before, it was mind-blowing when it was announced in October of 2016. The console was released on March 3rd, 2017, and it has forever changed gaming and the market. It includes 2 Joy-Cons right out of the box, which can be used as one controller, 2 controllers, or it can be connected to the Switch for handheld gameplay, which was revolutionary at the time. The Nintendo Switch Pro Controller is by far the best game controller and the best quality controller Nintendo has ever made. While this is not a revolutionary console, that doesn't mean it is without faults. The kickstand is terrible quality. It can overheat sometimes while docked, and the right Joy-Con had issues at launch, making Nintendo have to recall it and make a new one. This video was scripted by Carson Kerr. If you had enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and if you really enjoyed, then please consider sharing the video with a friend.